Well, these were not ordinary citizens. These are some of the most advanced scientists that are working on some of our most critical nation secrets. This has all of the hallmarks of a foreign operation. And so this is something that we need to be investigating.
There are these 10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here, and do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left a meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff, but we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, whatever you want to call it, but some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short.
It's an unfortunate reality that people often go missing and are never found. But is it just a tragic coincidence that 4 people with reported ties to nuclear facilities and other technology have disappeared in New Mexico in the last year? It's a question being asked even at the White House, and it's bringing missing persons cases that we reported on back into the spotlight.
There are now 10 American scientists who have either gone missing or died since mid-2024. They all reportedly had access to classified nuclear or aerospace material. Is anybody investigating this to see if these things are connected?
I've seen the report, Peter. I haven't spoken to our relevant agencies about it. I will certainly do that, and we'll get you an answer. If true, of course, that's definitely something I think this government and administration would deem worth looking into, so let me do that for you.
General McCaslin, for example, is someone that we had reached out to twice to try to get some answers from. He is someone who has a critical role in working for the Air Force, particularly when it came to research. He was the one that oversaw a lot of this advanced research. He was someone that was very difficult to get a hold of, but we reached out to him twice, and then he just mysteriously disappeared.
You know what's wondering? If one person disappears, we see press conferences and we see people and mysterious deaths. We would see family members. Why haven't we heard more from family members and associates about their concern?
Yeah, I don't know, Brian. I wish we would, but look, what's really disturbing when you look back and you reflect on it, you've got Monica Reza, you've got Anthony Chavez, you got Melissa Cassius, and you have Stephen Garcia, all of which, along with General McCaslin, walked out of their homes, or in the case of Mrs. Reza, she disappeared on a hike without their phones. They just literally disappeared, left all of their devices at home. This is not normal. These are some of the most advanced scientists, researchers in our nation, some of the most important people for our nation's national security efforts, and they all just mysteriously disappeared.
Eskridge also revealed that she had been receiving threats and that she had plans to disclose information about UFOs and extraterrestrials to the public. Her death was ruled a suicide, and neither the police nor the medical examiners have publicly released any details of an investigation into her death. Eskridge's death was unearthed after an already growing web of concerning deaths and disappearances of NASA scientists and individuals with ties to U.S. space and nuclear secrets. Eric Burleson of the House Oversight Committee told Fox News the fate of the scientists is too coincidental and almost certainly linked to the access they had to classified information, with the potential involvement of bad actors.
This is a rattling call to pay attention to this issue and make sure that our nation's top scientists are safe and secure. This is too coincidental, and so we have to be investigating this. We need to have our nation's top investigators, the FBI, and every agency looking into this matter.
Michael David Hicks, who worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Flint Ridge, California, as a research assistant, passed away at the age of 59 in July of 2023. However, there's no public cause of death or autopsy for Hicks' passing, nor any mention of how he died in his obituary, although it does ask for donations in his memory to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. 3 other scientists with ties to NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, or JPL, have either gone missing or died over the past few years, even as recently as February. On February 16, 2026, renowned astrophysicist Carl Grillmeyer, who worked on NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope, was suddenly and shockingly shot dead on the porch of his home in California. His shooter, Freddie Snyder, was arrested and is currently in jail. However, a clear motive has yet to be established. Another researcher at NASA's JPL, Frank Mywald, died in July 2024 at the age of 61. Like Hicks, there's little to no public information about how he died. JPL's former newly appointed director of its materials processing group, Monica Reza, mysteriously went missing in June of 2025 while hiking with friends in the Angeles National Forest in California and hasn't been seen since. Reza's research in materials science was funded by the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Base in Ohio, which is long rumored to hold extraterrestrial debris tied to the famous 1947 Roswell crash. The Air Force Research Lab was headed up by retired Air Force General William McCaslin, who also has shockingly gone missing. McCaslin mysteriously vanished on February 27, 2026 from his Albuquerque, New Mexico home, along with a pair of hiking boots and a .38 caliber revolver. McCaslin was also the former research commander at Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, which works closely on national security projects with Los Alamos National Laboratory, famous for developing nuclear weapons during the Manhattan Project. In June of 2025, 2 workers from Los Alamos, Anthony Chavez and Melissa Casillas, vanished from their homes in eerily similar circumstances. Chavez, age 79, was last seen leaving his New Mexico home on foot, leaving behind his car, wallet, phone, and keys. Casillas, age 54, was last seen on camera walking alone on a highway, also without her wallet, phone, or keys, after telling family members she would be working from home, Dateline reported. Other dead or missing scientists include Jason Thomas, who led the chemical biology team at Novartis and was found dead in a lake this past March. Famous MIT physicist Nuno Loureiro, who was shot and killed last December, and Stephen Garcia, who worked on security for a producer of non-nuclear components in American-made nukes and went missing in August of last year. As of now, no federal agency has publicly acknowledged any connection between the cases.
This general who we're talking about and the first woman who you mentioned, Monica, they're one of at least 4, possibly 5, who are missing, who've vanished in some way, and they haven't found them. And then there's a list of others who've died. There was one who was shot at their house. Others that died. You look at the autopsy reports, and there's a few that say natural causes. But it's just so curious, baffling, suspicious to have them sort of clustered together in this way.
A lot of alarm bells ringing, certainly, and especially the concentration on shared projects as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is mysterious. It is concerning. You think about like police detective procedurals on TV where the grizzled detective says, I don't believe in coincidences. And this is a lot, right? These are a lot of different names. Who knows if these are connected in any way? Like one of the names up there was an MIT professor who was killed during that Brown University shooting scenario, which was very bizarre, which to my knowledge has no connection to some sort of wider sinister plot. But I think we definitely need answers on this. I would hope that our relevant agencies, intelligence, Homeland Security, FBI, et cetera, are well aware of this, because if there is something sinister going on and this is connected to some sort of potential foreign plot, not to get way out over our skis, our government needs to know about that.
Press secretary was asked on Wednesday about missing scientists around the country and said that she and the administration would be looking into it. Of course, New Mexico does have a big role to play in all this. One of the most high-profile cases is retired Air Force Major General William Neil McCaslin, who went missing from northeast Albuquerque back in February. But now a different case from August is being brought up again. That's Stephen Garcia, who went missing from southwest Albuquerque. He reportedly worked at the Albuquerque branch of Kansas City National Security Campus, which handles the non-nuclear components of nuclear weapons, according to their website. Multiple reports say he kept track of those assets, but we have not heard back from the facility itself to confirm that. Also, we can't forget that Melissa Casillas went missing last summer. She worked at Los Alamos National Lab as an administrative assistant. Plus, Anthony Chavez went missing last year, too. Also previously working at Lano, but was retired at the time. Now, there, of course, are all sorts of theories floating out there about their connections to nuclear weapons, aerospace, even UFOs, at least in the case of McCaslin. So we talked to a UFO expert about these kinds of theories, which are common in that field or anything really related to defense. Here was his take.
Are our adversaries looking to kidnap people with high security clearances when they're by themselves? It's possible. You know, people that are under that kind of pressure in whatever field that they're in, whether it be defense or nuclear or propulsion there, you got to pay attention to their mental health too.
And he brought up that last point we should note, because in many cases, people seemingly just wandered off, not even taking their phones with them. At least in the cases of McCaslin and Garcia, police reported they both took a gun with them. There is still no new information tonight on where they could be. And the lack of information has been noticed, as we talked about, even at the White House, with the press secretary answering a question about those missing people and others by saying this.
If true, of course, that's definitely something I think this government and administration would deem worth looking into. So let me do that for you.
Now, President Trump himself also commented on the group of missing people today. He told reporters it is, quote, serious stuff, and he should have more answers in the next week and a half. But he also said that he hopes it is just a coincidence.
So you start sort of with everything and rule out. So at this point, any type of foreign espionage or all that kind of stuff, it hasn't been ruled out as they seek a pattern.
So I'm just curious about how hard it is to work a case like this when you have deaths in different states and you've got, you know, mysterious situations, you know, across the country in different areas with people. I'm looking here at MIT, NASA JPL engineer Frank Mawald, I think is how you say his name. That was 2024. These people are all over the place. So how do you do a top-down investigation and take a look at what the nexus of things that they have in common? That's difficult. So I think there are enough people missing or who've been murdered in mysterious ways or died in mysterious ways, or maybe we know how they died, but we don't know why. There are enough of them on the screen right now to begin some sort of a task force to pull this together to figure out what we're really looking at now.
And definitely Americans would be on board with that. That is exactly how our tax dollars should be stewarded. Yeah. I note, too, that perhaps in that way of research, you know, I don't know enough about the research to articulate it specifically, but to see perhaps, is it popping up in other countries?
So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I assumed maybe this is going to be older people who did a lot of research for a long time and maybe they're in their twilight years at the end of their lives. Then I looked at the list of names and the ages, 40s, 50s, 60s. That's also a little weird here, isn't it? There are a lot of young people.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
But it just seems like Congress is being very tight-lipped. Obviously, you know, the military is being very tight-lipped. And I think it's a bigger conversation, Dan, because UAPs are not just alien spaceships. We're not talking about, you know, Independence Day. We're actually talking about national security. We, on a list that Rep. Anna Luna had sent to the Secretary of War demanding 46 UAP videos, she sent this, I believe it was March 31st, and it was due yesterday. We didn't get it. Apparently, it was lost in translation, but we are told we are going to get it. But why this is important is these UAPs on this list, they were allegedly seen over conflict zones like Iran, Syria. I mean, this is a matter of national defense. And in real time, we don't know if it's a drone. We don't know if it's an enemy.